So when it comes to the Plato's account, according to the book which is coming later, in this book, it says that around the 6th century before Christ, this story came to be. Plato, of course, who lived 4 centuries before Christ, recorded and heard it by this order. It was a priest in Egypt who told the story to the great grandfather of Critias. His name was Drapidas, and his brother was Solon. Okay, so Solon told the story to Critias's grandfather, Critias the elder. The story eventually came to Critias the younger. Okay, Critias the younger was the second cousin of Plato, who later recorded that story. So this is what we know. Uh, we cannot, not just us, there's no scholar who can with 100% accuracy say that none of these things is true, or that everything is true. This is why we're called to study diligently and to try to come to the some sound conclusion. Okay, so when it comes to the Plato's account, he describes Atlantis in a very interesting way. Timaeus' account is very short. Um, he says there was an island opposite the strait which you can call the Pillars of Heracles, an island larger than Libya and Asia combined. So we are at the very beginning giving with some massive proportions that this island was huge, if of course this account is true. From it, travelers could in those days reach the other islands, and from them, the whole opposite continent, which surrounds what can truly be called the ocean. On this island of Atlantis had arisen a powerful and remarkable dynasty of kings who ruled the whole island and many other islands, as well as parts of the continent. In addition, it controlled within the straits Libya up to the borders of Egypt and Europe as far as Tyrrhenia. This dynasty, gathering its whole power together, attempted to enslave at a single stroke your country, Greece, and yours, and all the territory within the strait. We cannot read everything, but basically, the later account says that after that were earthquakes and floods of extraordinary violence. In a single dreadful day and night, all your fighting men were swallowed up by the earth, and the island of Atlantis was similarly swallowed up by the sea and vanished. This is why the sea in that area is to this day impassable to navigation, which is hindered by mud just below the surface, the remains of the sunken island. So at the very beginning, there's this dialogue where the Egyptian priest, speaks to Solon, the Critias's great grandfather, and tells him the differences, gives him some historical background. So suppose that according to this account, there are some natural disasters, including the flood, tsunamis, earthquakes. They swallowed up Atlantis, but not just hindered Atlantis, it also hindered the Greece. Okay. Timaeus doesn't write so much about Atlantis. He's only shortly quoting what he remembers here and there. He's focusing on some other parts of the story. But when it comes to Critias, the other person, the second person whom Plato was more closely related, like we said, he was his second cousin. Now we get to something more interesting, and the account is way more longer. Okay. We must first remind ourselves that in all 9,000 years have elapsed since the declaration of war between those who lived outside and all those who lived inside the Pillars of Heracles. So if this was recorded about little over 2,000 years ago, if this account is true, it would mean that the war between Atlantis and Greece happened 11,000 years ago. This is one of the things that gives the scholars to raise their eyebrows and look at this story suspiciously. But still, let's continue. At this time, as we said, Atlantis was an island larger than Libya and Asia put together, though it was subsequently overwhelmed by earthquakes, and it is the source of the impenetrable mud which prevents the free passage of those who sail out of the straits into the open sea.